This is Olivia Osgood, and you are listening to the How to Quit Working Show. I'm glad that my mommy's an entrepreneur so that we get to spend lots of time together and she gets to homeschool me.
This is the How to Quit Working Show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working Show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello and welcome to the How to Quit Working Show. This is Heather Osgood, your host of the Friday episode of the How to Quit Working Show. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want to make sure that you have had a chance to join the How to Quit Working Circle. In the How to Quit Working Circle, you're going to have access to our free Facebook group, which is really a phenomenal group of people who are just like you, who are either thinking about starting a business or who maybe are business owners and really who are experiencing a lot of the same challenges and victories that you are. And if you're really feeling like maybe you don't have anyone in your life, no immediate friends or family members who you can really reach out to and connect with about your dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, the How to Quit Working Facebook circle is the place for you because you're just going to be surrounded by like-minded people who are going through all of the same ups and downs, victories and defeats that you are facing, and it's just really a great place to get support. So I just encourage you to think about joining the How to Quit Working Circle for the Facebook group alone. Beyond that, you do have access to free video training that we put out that is really phenomenal, as well as free live trainings that we do from time to time. Just go to howtoquitworking.com/circle and you can be registered to be part of the group. So do that today. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the idea of coming up with a business concept. That's something that we hear all the time, people asking questions about how do I actually come up with the concept for a business. So if you're in a position where you've made the decision that you'd really like to quit your job and you're really just not sure where to go, really the next step is thinking about the concept for your business, which is obviously a natural step that you're going to take. Now, what I want to address first is this idea that you have to come up with one golden concept, that there is this one idea out there for you that is going to be a win for you. Now, I don't believe that there is just one perfect idea, one perfect business concept for you, and Jeff doesn't believe that either. And if that's something that is holding you back, I really want you to let go of that myth. I want you to embrace the idea that there are lots and lots of wonderful business concepts that could be a very good fit for you. Now, frequently we have this idea that in order to be successful in business, it has to really start with this kind of golden opportunity, that we have to invent some wonderful product that is going to solve this age-old problem that people have had, and there's going to be mass adoption of our product and we're going to become zillionaires overnight. Now, that would be a wonderful story, and it is a success story that many entrepreneurs have had. There are lots of people who've invented wonderful products and who have gone on to be very, very financially successful and just successful as entrepreneurs in general. However, I don't believe that there is one perfect idea out there for most people. In most cases, that person, you or anyone else, has the opportunity to start many, many different businesses that could be very, very successful. So if you're someone that's kind of holding on to kind of the dream that you're going to one day stumble upon a great idea and the rest of your business ownership career is just going to fall into place, I'd really like you to let go of that concept first and foremost. Now, if you're an inventor, if you're someone who is really dead set on coming up with a concept or an idea that is, really going to be a perfect product, go for it. Put your energy into that. And I don't want to discourage you from doing that. But if you're like most people, like myself, like Jeff, out there, and you are feeling like, gosh, I'm not an inventor. I don't know the first thing about what it would be like to try and develop a product, much less get it manufactured, packaged, and then sold. Fear not. You do not need to do that. There are lots and lots of wonderful business ideas that have nothing to do with creating a product. If you are someone, again, who is very passionate about product creation, if you really want to design a product, if you want to get it manufactured, you want to get it packaged and sold, go for it. And that is a great path for you. But don't feel like that is the only path to success on your journey to becoming an entrepreneur. The other myth that I kind of want you to let go of is that you have to create an online business or you have to create a brick and mortar business. I don't believe that either of those are true. I believe that you can be very successful as an online entrepreneur. You can be very successful as a brick and mortar mom and pop business, and you can be very successful in product creation. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be any number of things. So what I'd really like for you to do is just kind of let go of any preconceived notions that you might have about what it means to start and create a business. If you can first and foremost let go of your preconceived notions, it'll open up your imagination and your ability to create something that is going to be a success for you. What we like to do at How to Quit Working is we like to start with what we call a lifestyle blueprint. It's something that I have every single one of my clients do, and there's a very important reason why I have them do it. And that reason is having a blueprint, having a roadmap for your life is going to allow you to determine what it is that you would like. In that roadmap, in that blueprint, what we want to think about is how we would like our lives to be. And I often encourage people to think about the idea that if they had a magic wand and they could create anything that they wanted in their life, what would that be and what would it look like? And as you're thinking about this, as you're thinking about kind of crafting your life and creating your life, you want to think about the big things, which most people do very easily. I want a house in the country. I want a house at the beach. I want, a new car. I want to be able to travel the world. I want to have freedom and flexibility to spend time with my family and my kids. I want, to be able to go to all of my kids, sporting events. I want to be room mom, whatever it is that you want. People usually don't have a hard time coming up with those big kind of rocks and those big kind of pieces. But what most people overlook is how they actually want the day-to-day kind of system of their life to go. And what I mean by that is if you were, again, to have a magic wand and you could create whatever kind of life you would like, what would that look like in a day-to-day system, in a day-to-day routine? What time would you wake up? What kind of meals would you eat? What kind of activities would you do? Would you exercise a lot? Would you sleep a lot? Would you vacation regularly? Would you want to be at home on a regular basis? Would you want to have an office outside of home? Would you prefer to work 60 or 70 hours a week in your business? Or would you prefer to work 5 hours a week in your business? And, just really, really thinking through all of those things. I have a new client, and one of his goals is that he will not get to work before 10 a.m. And I respect that. I think that it is a very admirable goal, and that's his plan. He doesn't want to have to be at the office or in a business before 10 a.m. And he's going to stick to that because he is the architect of his life. And that is what is so wonderful as an entrepreneur, is that you have so much more control over what is happening on a day in and day out basis. And in most cases, that's what people dislike about jobs. They dislike the idea that Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, 5 or whatever kind of schedule you have, that's where you have to be. Does it matter if your child is sick? Does it matter if your child has a recital at school or a sporting event, or perhaps you have a doctor's appointment, or maybe you just want to sleep in because you had a big function the night before and you need some extra rest. Perhaps you want to train for an Ironman or some, big kind of production, and you would like to have some extra time to devote to exercising or to eating healthy. And when you're working a job, it's so difficult to do that on a regular basis. And in most cases, it's because the job has such high requirements on your hours. They are totally dominating you're the core of your prime hours. And so what we want to do as business owners is we want to imagine what life would be like if we didn't have that job dominating our days. If we didn't have that have to go to for 40 plus hours per week. And as you're kind of thinking about your lifestyle and you're thinking about what you want, I want you to take it a step further. And the reason I want you to take it a step further is because sometimes what we think we want isn't actually what we want. I have been working at home now for over a year, and it is wonderful in a lot of ways. And in other ways, it's not wonderful. I'm an extrovert. I really enjoy people. I enjoy interaction. And I get a lot of that as I'm working with my clients, but I don't get as much as I'm, kind of accustomed to. I'm accustomed to more kind of rigorous adult interaction. And I have to add adult because I do have my children that are at home with me, which is wonderful, but also trying at times. And, it can be a challenge to work at home. I've worked at home with businesses that I've owned in the past, and it's kind of a very love-hate relationship. It's wonderful to roll out of bed and be at the office, and it's horrible to roll out of bed and be at the office because there aren't the boundaries that you could create with, okay, I'm in my, in my business creation space. I'm in that office that is away from my home, and I'm going to be focusing solely on business related activities now, and vice versa. I'm at home now, and I'm going to shut off my, mind. I'm going to shut off my laptop. I'm going to really move into more hobby type activities. There are some fabulous co-working spaces that are, sprouting up in every city and town across the nation and world. And I've talked to many people who are starting businesses, and they're taking advantage of these co-working spaces, and they have been very, very successful in them. So that can be a really good idea. You can be a solopreneur and work at an office that is not your home, that you're not paying an arm and a leg for, and in most cases have free internet that is provided, which is really nice. So just kind of think through what it would be like. On the flip side, gosh, who might not love the idea of, I'm going to wake up at 10 a.m. every day. That sounds perfect. Is that realistic? It might be realistic to say you're not going to start actually working on your business until 10 a.m., but really, is that the appropriate approach for your life? Is to wake up at 10. So, really kind of think through your days and think through, kind of what you would like your life to be. One of my big goals has been for a long time, and continues to be, to take a 3-month kind of holiday in the middle of the year. So I would really love to, over the summer break, just, shut my business down and resume it in 3 months so that I have time to take big adventures with my family, to travel overseas, to really experience a different culture and a different way of living, and just to take that break. So that's a big part of my lifestyle blueprint, because I really feel like that's something I want, and that's something that I can create. So think about what it is that you want. Really, really give consideration to the idea of the online versus the brick and mortar type business. And in terms of kind of categorizing the business you're creating, really think about first and foremost, who are you targeting and who might purchase your product? Now, obviously, you don't have your concept created yet, so that could be a challenging question to answer. But just think about perhaps the relationships that you have in your current community. Are you someone who has lived in your community for a very long time? Perhaps you are very well connected. You maybe have volunteered. Maybe you're very active in a local nonprofit or an active member of a church or, just an active member in your community, and you have a really good network of people surrounding you. That is a really great place to start with a locally based business. If you know that you have friends, that you have neighbors, that you have acquaintances that would be good prospects for a product that you might create, starting a local business is a really good idea. It doesn't necessarily mean, and when I say brick and mortar, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go start, with a storefront or a physical office. You can have a brick and mortar business that you're operating out of your home that can be very successful. But really kind of that definition is a localized business, a business that is really going to primarily be targeting people who either live in your community or within kind of your market area. And generally that's about the size of a county, depending on where you live. If your counties are very small, it might be, stretching over a few counties. It just depends. But if that's who you're targeting, then you're really a localized business. Obviously, if you're thinking about doing an online business, you're not necessarily going to be targeting your local community. You could be targeting, people from across the nation, across the world. Really, it could be any number of individuals who could purchase your product or service online. And that's not to exclude the people in your local community or neighborhood. Those individuals can be terrific prospects for your business as well. And oftentimes, even if it's not your intent to, long-term have a localized business, it can be still a very good place to start in creating your initial product offering and sales. So consider that. Now, obviously, if you're looking at serving a local community, then you're really going to be, coming up with the choice that you would like to stay in the community that you're at for the time that you're going to own that business. And if you are someone that really likes to be in your community, you're happy with your home, you really don't have kind of the travel bug and you don't have kind of the desire to relocate every other year, that can be a very, very good option for you. And part of what's nice about a localized business is sometimes there is a tangibility to them that really helps you kind of almost psychologically, because you feel like you have a business, you are operating locally. And even when you get to the place where maybe you open a shop or you open an office, there is that level of tangibility when you're serving the local public or the local community that you don't have when you're working online. Now, a lot of people I talk to love the idea of location independence, which obviously is kind of the buzzword for online businesses. And I think that on a fantasy level, when we, I would say a good portion of us, when we think about the idea of creating a business that we could pick up and we could take to any place in the world, it sounds very appealing. I live in California, and the cost of living in my neighborhood and probably most of my state is very, very high. And of course, it sounds like a great fantasy and dream to create a very large business that is location independent and pick that up and move it to some other wonderful place in the world that is going to cost a fraction to live in, as opposed to California, as much as I love California. So, of course, that is a really good, fun thing to think about and a good dream to have. However, you have to really think about, is that really and truly what you want? And the reason that I'm saying that is because a lot of times people say that they want to do things, they say that they want to travel, or they say that they want to move, but really when it comes down to it, they're really not all that keen on it. Or perhaps really, you're used to taking 2 or 3 weeks off a year, and you're going to be happy staying in that mode of taking 2 or 3 weeks off. And if that's the case, maybe that online force isn't as important as you think it is. Now, obviously, regardless of whether you're having a local or an online business, you really do need to have an online presence. That's kind of a given. However, you may not have to have an online business. It could be something that you could just do locally, and that could be terrific. The other experience that I've had is I have had clients that I've worked rather closely with who have created online businesses, and they thought that they wanted an online business, but then when it actually came to the execution of the online business, they realized that that isn't what they wanted at all. And I find this happens most frequently with people who have tended to be kind of more of the high touch individuals. Perhaps they have come from an environment where they were really working with their hands a lot. They were moving around a lot. Maybe they were, building something. And the idea of sitting at a desk and working on a computer day in and day out is really very torturous to them. And oftentimes people don't realize that it's going to be a bad idea for them to do that until they actually get into several months of working on the computer, or several months of them feeling frustrated that perhaps they can't manipulate the software as easily as they thought they could, or perhaps they don't have the actual abilities to do the strong online marketing that they intended to do. And so I want you to really, really think about that. Like, dig down deep into who you are and what it is that you like to do before you make that decision. Obviously, one of the big downfalls to opening a brick and mortar shop type business is that when you do open a business like that, you are in many ways chaining yourself to that business. You are committing that you will be in the area at least for, several years to get that business up and established and running. And whether or not you want to have employees or partners or, people that can support that growth, you still need to have a presence there. So really kind of examine all the pros and cons of the different types of businesses and think about what you really, really want. And then after you've got a really clear blueprint for yourself, then you want to move on to thinking about things that you are really good at. And a lot of times when I talk to people, they say, I don't know what I'm good at. I have no idea. You know what you're good at, and I want you to really own that. Get rid of all of your self-confidence issues, get rid of all of the second guessing that you're doing, and just embrace the things that you excel at. As a person, you excel at a handful of things. And when I'm talking excelling, it doesn't mean that you are perfect at it. It doesn't mean that, you are the next Nobel Prize winner. It just means that you're better at it than other people are. And so really think about the things that you are good at. Think about the things that people ask your help with. Are people constantly asking you to help them fix their car? Or when people have an internet or a computer issue, are they turning to you and say, hey, can you help me fix this? Or if maybe they have a sales question, are they turning to you for advice? Or perhaps a marketing question, they're turning to it for advice. Maybe you're a numbers person and people are coming to you with accounting questions or maybe tax questions. So think about what it is that you're good at. And a lot of times the things that you're good at are the things that you've been doing for your employer for a number of years. Now, a lot of times people are so disillusioned with their jobs that they're like, I'm never going to do what I've been doing for my employer. And they really want to shut that down. I want you to really try to kind of expand past that, because there is, in many cases, a reason why either you got the degree that led you to the job or you got the job that led you to where you're at. And maybe you do have a bigger passion for doing this task than you thought you did. And what would it be like if you extracted extracted your boss? What would it be like if you extracted the, corporate policies or, all of the infighting at the office? What if you were to take all of that away and say, if I just look at this skill that I do, what do I excel in and what am I good at? And just make a list of all of the things that you're really good at. And then next, you want to move to, what are you really passionate about? Are you somebody who loves hiking? Are you somebody who loves, maybe mountain bike riding? Or do you love hot rods? Do you love to dance? Just think about all the things out there that you're really passionate about. Maybe you are just a total animal person. Maybe, old pieces of furniture really light you up. Just think about the things that really excite you in life. And, those things don't have to necessarily be something that off the top of your head, you could say, oh yeah, well, I'm super passionate about, community parks. So that means that that's a good business for me. That doesn't have to be the case. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find some commonalities between the things that you're good at and the passions that you have, and really looking for crossover. And when we find crossover, then we can find business opportunities. So as you're identifying the areas of life that you're passionate about, just, see how all of those float out and see what could really work in terms of creating a business. And then what you want to do is, take that and take, like I said, the items that you're really good at doing, your passion areas, see if there's any crossover, and hopefully an idea will emerge for you and something will crop up. Oftentimes, when you're looking at starting a business, you will have a good list of things. And that's really, in my opinion, the ideal situation. If you have between 5 and 6 different business ideas that kind of crop up, or, maybe you're currently an accountant and you're like, well, I am good at that. Well, that's probably going to fall somewhere on your list. But then maybe you decide that you would prefer to work with married couples and money management. And so, because you really have a passion for strong marriages and reinforcing, the idea that, people should stay married and not get divorced, and money is one of the leading causes of divorce and, in the US. And so you're going to go in and you're going to start a business where you're going to help married couples with their personal finances and creating, the progress in their, portfolio development or, in their net worth that they're really, really looking for. So perhaps that's an idea that you have, and that would be perfect. So, you're just trying to look at the crossover. And then on the flip side, you could just say, I'm super passionate about donuts. Last week was National Donut Day, as was proclaimed by all of the social media outlets. And my husband said, I'm going to go and get some donuts for our employees at our haircutting business. And so he went to the donut shop and they told him it was the second batch of donuts they had been baking and that they were 80% of the way out, and they had sold more donuts that day than they had ever, which is, thank you very much for someone out there creating some nonsense holiday that really helped the donut companies. But if you're somebody who's been really, really passionate about baking all your life and you really want to do it, then do it. That can be a terrific model for you. If you're somebody who's always really loved, mountain biking, and you would love to start, an online mountain bike shop, and, that's something you've really always dreamed of, do it. Or, perhaps you're somebody who has a real flair for fashion, and you would like to start maybe an online store or a physical store, and, you're thinking about that. Those can be terrific business ideas. So really think about just what gets you excited. And what I like to do, because I know that I'm going to start other businesses at some point in my life, is I just keep my eye open constantly. I'm constantly looking at things, and I'm evaluating, gosh, if I were going to turn this into a business, how would I do it? How much money would it make me? And I'm to the place where I can run those numbers pretty quickly in my head and decide pretty quickly, gosh, so how much money would that make, and how much time would I need to spend, and where would I need to be, and how would I enjoy it? How many people would I need to employ, or would it need employees? And, so there's just kind of a list of questions that I run through mentally to say, yeah, that seems like that could be worth pursuing, or no, that doesn't sound like a good idea. There are a lot of times, ideas that you have that aren't great ideas. I had an idea once that I still think is a really good idea. We order from Amazon all the time, and we get these beautiful brand new boxes that show up on our doorstep. I, use a little razor blade and cut that box open, take the item out, and what do I do with the box? I recycle it. And I thought, wouldn't it be terrific if we could start a box recycling program where we sold the Amazon boxes that everybody across the country is getting? They're perfectly wonderful boxes that could be reused. And I was pretty serious about the idea. So I did a little bit of investigative work and I thought about it, and it just doesn't pencil out. So as much as I would love to reuse all of the boxes that Amazon is sending out, it's probably not something that's going to happen. And it's because ultimately it would take too much time and it wouldn't make enough money. So it's not a good business idea. And that's kind of what you need to do. You just have to run through ideas until you come up with one where you say, okay, this fits all of my criteria. This fits the lifestyle element that I want. This fits the income production that I want. This fits the passion level that I want. Because there are also lots and lots of things that you could do out there that would make you zero money. I have thought, many, many times throughout my life that I should get my real estate license. But the truth is that it just doesn't excite me. I love houses, and the idea of selling somebody a house sounds super fun. But gosh, doing all that paperwork and dealing with people at the height of an emotional transaction in their life just doesn't appeal to me. So I'm sure that I could make money as a real estate agent. Do I want to be a real estate agent? No, I don't. So really think through the ideas that pop up and then really, really examine them. Because the other thing I've seen is that sometimes when people come up with an idea, they think that the idea is too good to let go of, even if it's not a good fit for them. And so if you've got this idea that's kind of rumbling around and every time you think about it, you just go, oh no, that sounds awful, but it would make money. Oh, but it sounds awful. Who cares how much money it makes if you're miserable? You're making money now in your job and you're not any happier. So it's not really about the money. Yeah, you need to make the money and we all want to make a certain level of money, and having financial goals is a good thing. But really at the end of the day, it's about spending the life energy that you have creating something that you're passionate and excited about. And if this business that you're thinking about starting really doesn't resonate with you in any way, abandon the idea and come up with something that does. Come up with something that you really believe that you could do every day for the rest of your life. When I had my trade show production company, I cannot tell you how many times when I walked into our office and when I walked out of our office that I said, there is no place that I would rather be than here. I love the company. I love the product that we're creating. I love the people that I'm working with. It just encompasses everything that I love to do. And I am completely 100% satisfied in this business, and it was exactly where I wanted to be. It fulfilled everything that I really wanted in my life. Now, obviously things change, and when you're 25 starting a business, you might think that it's something you want to do for the rest of your life, and suddenly you realize it's not really something you want to do for the rest of your life at some point. But you want to start a business with the convictions that it's something that you could do for a very, very long time, and something that you could imagine growing, something that you could imagine taking from just you to something bigger. Because when you have that vision, that's where the true entrepreneur comes out. That's where the that person inside that has the concepts to make something beyond yourself. And I really like, to me, I like to refer to businesses as organizations. And the reason that I like to refer to them as organizations is because an organization is not just one person, it's a network of people. And as a business, in order to be successful, you have to have tremendous clients. You have to have the best clients on the planet. And you have to have the best vendors that you're working with and that you're buying products from. And you have to be your best. And that creates a really, really dynamic organization. Obviously, you also have your support network. You have your employees, you have your independent contractors or people that you're working with, and that is really an organization. So as you're thinking about creating this business, think about what it could be and see if that excites you. And if it does, then follow that path. Ultimately, you just are looking for that idea that lights your fire and is also something that is sellable. So once you come up with this intersection between skill and passion, then you have to look at, can the market bear that product or service? And what I mean by that is, will somebody buy that from you? And will they buy it from you at a price that is going to work into your ultimate kind of goal number for income? And usually when you're looking at that, you kind of look at what your income goals are for the first year, because oftentimes, you should be year after year increasing in your sales. You shouldn't be, starting at one level and then going down. So, really, if you're able to sell that product, that is the most important question of the whole scenario is, can you create something and convince someone else to give you money for it? And I know you can. And the reason I know you can is because thousands and thousands, if not millions and millions of people create businesses every day and are very, very successful with them. And so if they can do it, you can do it too. And really, there's no better time than the present. So if you're kind of just floundering around and you're feeling like you're just not sure what to do or what area to turn in, I hope that I've given you some tools to really consider and just things to kind of think through. I hope that you took some really good notes, because there was a lot to capture in that bit of information that I threw out there. And just try to break it down into small digestible pieces, because by breaking it down into small action steps, you'll be able to really take some real progress. So if, just your lifestyle blueprint feels overwhelming, just take it one step at a time. Think about maybe some really big goals that you want to achieve, and then maybe think about what an ideal day might look like, and then set your notebook aside and move on for a few days, and then come back and revisit it, and then think about what you're good at, and, just let your mind kind of process through what you can provide for the world. Because when you're able to provide either a product or service that the world wants, you will make money. And when you make money, you can quit your job. And I know that that's what you want to do. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, any concerns, please don't hesitate to give me a call. You are always welcome to do that. You can email me at heather@howtoquitworking.com. I am interested in hearing about your entrepreneurial journeys. So if you are, starting something, if you have questions or you just want to share, please feel free to email myself or Jeff. We would love to talk to you. And if this conversation has gotten your interest kind of piqued and you're thinking, I would like more of that, it may be time for you to consider one-on-one personalized coaching. In the coaching program, we will specifically dive into what your lifestyle blueprint is. We will analyze that blueprint. We will look at your skills. We will look at your passions, and we will help you create a business that is going to be successful for you. If you are interested in coaching, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a fabulous week, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you, who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.